Just 4 days before the 2004 US presidential election, a newly released tape surfaces in the media. The election, contested by George W. Bush and John Kerry, had largely centered around foreign policy decisions following the September 11 attacks. In this tape, broadcast by Al Jazeera, Osama Bin Laden takes responsibility for the 9/11 attacks more explicitly than before. The video, where Bin Laden attempts to present himself as a legitimate figure addressing the nation he attacked, serves as a stark reminder that he still eludes capture, likely feeling secure in his undisclosed location. At the same time, at CIA headquarters in Virginia, the special unit focused on capturing Bin Laden faces a frustrating reality. All leads have run dry. This situation is especially disappointing considering that nearly 3 years earlier, the agency had believed they were on the verge of capturing him. By the end of the 2001 US invasion of Afghanistan, Al-Qaeda fighters had retreated to the country's eastern region. There, they took shelter in the caves of Tora Bora, and American intelligence suspected Bin Laden to be among them. With the help of Afghan tribal forces, the US military launched intense airstrikes and ground assaults. However, by the time the fighting ended, Bin Laden had already escaped. Although only around 20 people were captured, one of them would later provide crucial information. Mohammed al-Qahtani, captured during these operations, was previously unknown to investigators. He denied any link to Al-Qaeda, claiming he was in Afghanistan to pursue falconry. However, after taking his fingerprints, authorities matched him to an individual who had tried to enter the US just weeks before the 9/11 attacks. Qahtani had been found carrying $2,800 in cash and a one-way ticket, which raised suspicions at the airport. The customs officer denied him entry, suspecting he might attempt to overstay illegally. Investigators also knew that on the same day, a phone call was made from Orlando Airport to an Al-Qaeda-linked number in the UAE. This raised investigators' curiosity, and they began looking for connections. After reviewing airport surveillance footage, FBI agents identified a car rented by Mohammed Atta. Atta was the supreme leader of the 9/11 hijackers, who flew the first plane into the World Trade Center. It became clear that Atta had likely been waiting to pick up Qahtani, who was likely intended to be one of the hijackers aboard United Airlines Flight 93. This was the flight that crashed in Pennsylvania after passengers fought back. With this connection established, Qahtani underwent interrogation, providing information that, combined with other Al-Qaeda detainees, helped investigators understand the group's operations. Another key figure, Abu Zubaydah, captured in March 2002, confirmed Khalid Sheikh Mohammed's role as the mastermind behind the 9/11 attacks. In March 2003, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed himself was captured. Qahtani's interrogation also led to the revelation that in July 2001, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed introduced him to Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti, a figure previously unknown to the CIA. Al-Kuwaiti trained Qahtani in operational security, and this connection helped investigators piece together Al-Qaeda's organizational structure, identifying a hierarchy with Bin Laden at the top. Still, Bin Laden's whereabouts remained a mystery. The CIA shifted its focus to mapping relationships and identifying Bin Laden's communication methods, knowing that he continued to send messages via couriers. A breakthrough came in January 2004 when Kurdish forces arrested Hassan Gul, who was carrying a letter addressed to Bin Laden. Gul was handed over to US forces and, during interrogation, revealed that Bin Laden's personal courier was none other than Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti. Although investigators now had a lead, conflicting reports surfaced about Kuwaiti's role. While Gul insisted Kuwaiti played a key role in Al-Qaeda, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed downplayed his significance, claiming Kuwaiti had retired. Despite these contradictions, Kuwaiti remained central to the ongoing search for bin Laden. In May 2005, Abu Faraj al-Libi was captured in Pakistan and, like others, denied that Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti held any significant role in al-Qaeda. Investigators also questioned Hambali, the former leader of al-Qaeda's Southeast Asian branch, who claimed that Kuwaiti was involved, managing a safe house in Karachi during the Taliban's retreat from Afghanistan. The conflicting reports only heightened the CIA's interest in Kuwaiti, but very little was known about him. Even the name Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti was not his real name, but an alias meaning father of Ahmed from Kuwait. Although the interrogations provided some useful information, the methods used were controversial. Many detainees were subjected to enhanced interrogation techniques, which included forms of torture, like waterboarding. A 2014 Senate Intelligence Committee report concluded that these techniques were ineffective in leading to bin Laden's capture. Additionally, there were concerns about how these practices might harm U.S. national security by undermining its credibility. As investigators reached another standstill, a major breakthrough came in 2007, not through their own efforts, but from a foreign intelligence source. The CIA learned that Kuwaiti's real name was Ibrahim Saeed Ahmed, a Pakistani who had moved to Kuwait with his family. While the agency had waited years for this crucial piece of information, it would still take more time to locate him. In June 2010, Kuwaiti and his brother changed the way they used their phones, allowing the NSA to trace their calls. Amid the numerous monitored conversations, one man fit Kuwaiti's profile. He spoke both Arabic and Pashto, and when asked about his location by a friend in the Gulf, he cryptically responded that he was with the people he had been with before. His cautious behavior, such as keeping his phone off for long periods, further raised suspicion. By August 2010, a Pakistani CIA agent tracked Kuwaiti in his car in Peshawar, following him to a large compound. The size of the compound surprised investigators, who had expected to continue monitoring Kuwaiti until he led them to bin Laden. Instead, they began to believe that bin Laden might already be living in the same compound with Kuwaiti. Although U.S. officials were not entirely sure of bin Laden's presence, the decision was made to act. On May 1, 2011, two stealth Black Hawk helicopters took off from Jalalabad airfield, heading towards the compound. The mission was risky because the U.S. had chosen not to inform Pakistan, meaning the Navy SEALs had to avoid detection, especially given that the compound was located next to a Pakistani military academy. The United States made a calculated decision not to inform Pakistan about the mission to capture or kill Osama bin Laden, and the reasons for this choice were deeply rooted in security concerns. First and foremost, there was the very real fear of leaks. U.S. intelligence had grown increasingly wary of certain elements within Pakistan's military and intelligence services, particularly the ISI, the Inter-Services Intelligence Agency. This branch had long been suspected of maintaining ties to militant groups, including the Taliban and al-Qaeda. If Pakistan were notified, there was a strong concern that someone within these ranks might leak the information, giving bin Laden enough time to escape. This was a risk the U.S. couldn't afford to take. But the distrust ran deeper. For years, there had been growing tension and skepticism about the role of Pakistan's ISI in supporting militants. American officials had suspicions that some within the ISI might have known more about bin Laden's whereabouts than they were letting on. After all, he had been hiding in Abbottabad, a mere stone's throw away from one of Pakistan's top military academies. How could he have remained undetected for so long? On top of all this was the need for absolute operational security. The mission to raid bin Laden's compound required secrecy on an unprecedented scale. Informing another government, even an ally, would introduce risks beyond U.S. control. A leak, a misunderstanding, or even just the wrong timing could compromise the entire operation. When the Black Hawks took off from Jalalabad headed toward bin Laden's compound, they did so without any warning to Pakistan, fully aware of the risks they were taking by flying undetected into a sovereign nation's airspace. During the raid, the SEALs located and killed Osama Bin Laden in a firefight. Bin Laden was found on the third floor of the compound and was shot after resisting capture. The SEALs quickly collected intelligence from the site and evacuated, ending the nearly decade-long search for the man responsible for the September 11 attacks.
Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda.